Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Roundtable Podcast. I'm your host, Casey Kirsch, along with your commentators, Caleb Kirsch and Samuel Kelty. So, first off, we're going to start off with some introductions, about 3 minutes or so, and then we'll get into the line of questioning here. So, Caleb, you want to go first?
What's up, guys? I'm Caleb. Happy to be here talking about what we like, what we love, and just happy to see where it goes. Columbus Crew, Liverpool fan here. YNWA.
Sam?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Sam Kelty. I go by Kelty, Samuel, whatever. Real Madrid, Chelsea supporter, Columbus Crew supporter. I've wanted to do this podcast for a while now, and I'm so excited and glad that we're gonna finally do this. It's been incoming. We started this when we were in high school, and then now that we're all out of college and we're in different places, this is a great way to stay together. So I'm gonna love talking about soccer and basketball and any other sport we want to talk about, live culture, anything, music. So it's gonna be a fun time, and I'm looking forward to getting started.
Yeah, that's great. So just a little background about us three together. So Caleb is my brother, and Sam has been a good friend of ours for a really long time. We all grew up in the same area. We went to the same schools and everything. That was going back 8-9 years ago or so. But now that we're all out of college, we have some time to start a podcast about things that we've always talked about in our general circles, whether it be soccer, football, basketball, or anything else, really. And now we can say it on a platform where we can just make sure we have what we want to say on there and just provide a good message for you all. So we're going to get into questions here. First one being, who is the biggest winner of the transfer window so far? So this can be out in Europe, it can be in the U.S., it can be Saudi Arabia, or anywhere you think. Caleb, we'll start off with you.
So in terms of that question, you can go a number of ways. The easy answer at the moment is Saudi Arabia. Not even a question. I'm not just saying just specifically one club in Saudi Arabia, but the whole PIF organization owns the top 4 teams, which has been getting aging, but also still quality players, and also Newcastle United, who they're on the rise for sure. It is a situation where sports washing is forefront, and the whole gist of the situation is to get all these players and spend the money, and we'll see what's gonna happen. I mean, in terms of the Saudi League, I think it's something where we saw it in golf. We're seeing it in soccer. We're gonna see it in basketball pretty soon. Just egregious activities. The Yemen Civil War, where they were bombing, kids' schools and open air markets, and then now that they're getting Ronaldo, Benzema, Conte, they're trying to wash all that away like it never happened. So I thought it's crucial to bring something up like that, because when you talk about Saudi Arabia right now, it's about sports, but they are leading the way in terms of some of the most egregious acts, and also the amount of money spent. So they got players like Ruben Neves, Mendy, Benzema, Ronaldo, Conte. Like, the list will keep continuing, and next year it probably is going to keep going, next summer at least. So yeah, I would say Saudi easily is number one.
Yep, and a lot of points there with Saudi Arabia. We are not a political podcast. We do not talk about political acts or anything like that. We just tend to stick to sports here. But Sam, if we want to go over to you and see who your biggest winner so far of this transfer window is.
Yeah, probably. For my answer, is a two-parter. If you're talking about in terms of who won it, like the best to go forward in their league, it has to be Saudi Arabia, because the players that they're attracting, such as Benzema, Ronaldo, Mendy, they're linked to countless other players in like Bernardo Silva, who's at his peak, Marco Verratti, who's just hitting 30. So that, in that sense, if you look at it, that Saudi's trying to build a super league that China did about 5 or 6 years ago when they started just paying ridiculous amount of money to bring in players that are either past their prime or just hitting their prime, and giving them huge wages to come build their league to make it more dominant. But then if we talk about teams, just not in like the league sense, talking about all overall for the league, I would have to say City. City is reloading their team. Yes, they lost Ilkay Gundogan to Barcelona, and they might lose Kyle Walker, they might not, depending if he changes his heart. But bringing in Kovacic from Chelsea for I believe it was 35 mil. That's a steal. And now they're going to get Gorvaldo from RB Leipzig, center back, who's young. He can play in a 3-back, he can play in a 5-back, and he can play in a 4-back. He can also play left back. You've seen it. We saw him play at left back sometimes during the World Cup for Croatia. They bring him in, they're reloading a team. And with a guy that scored 50-plus goals in Haaland last year, and he's only 22, 23, he's going to have another great season. And the players around him with Kevin De Bruyne, I think City is just reloading for another season, and I can see them trying to go for the sextuplet, and we've only seen a few teams do that. So depends on how they do. If they lose Riyad Mahrez, it'll be interesting to see what they do, but I think City pretty much so far has won.
I think a fair amount of people would agree with you both, saying that Saudi Arabia has really taken a lot of good players out of Europe, and I'm sure they will continue to in the future with their PIF fund. For me personally, I think it's Inter Miami and MLS. Obviously, they bring in Lionel Messi, who is the greatest player of all time, and consensus greatest player of all time. You bring him in with Sergio Busquets. You bring in all the experience necessary to compete for a title. And coming to the worst team in the league currently, I could definitely see them even challenging for a title next season with Lionel Messi carrying the squad there. So I'd say Inter Miami, definitely a big winner of this transfer window. I would say the biggest, but I can definitely agree that both Saudi and Manchester City are big winners here.
My question just with the Inter Miami signing, yes, bringing in Messi and Busquets helps your team a little bit, but you still need to bring in more players. And with the players that they have right now, do you think they can even get back into this playoff race this season? Because bringing in Messi now means they're going to try to do something. And they've already were linked to Suarez, who's considered retiring. They were linked to Angel Di Maria, who's going back to Benfica. Jordi Alba hasn't made up his mind if he's going to come to Inter or he's going to go to Saudi. So they just have to make the signings. Do you think they need to make signings that can play around Messi? Do you think Messi can play with these quality of players they have right now, or do they need a manager that knows what he's doing? And I've seen they've been linked to Tata Martino, who was Messi and Busquets' coach when he was at Barca for one season, and I believe they got second in the league. But do you think the team that's right, do they have to overhaul the team to make them contending? Because just with Messi and Busquets, they can't win. They're not going to win anything. There's too much better talent and better teams within MLS. If you look at the likes of Nashville and the Columbus Crew and FCC, what they're doing, they have an all-around team. It's not just star players here and there. It's star players with quality players that can help them win. Inter doesn't have that. What do you think about that?
You're
right,
also
and
forgetting about the Leagues Cup and the U.S. Open Cup, which they're involved in. It's not just about the league at this point, because MLS has added the Leagues Cup.
But I think Messi
over all the Mexican teams, who knows what they can achieve in MLS next year.
Right, and I think the real question is when you bring in a star player into a system where it hasn't really been good, it hasn't been solid over the past few years, ever since it started. But with Lionel Messi being in Ballon d'Or form, I think he is the system, and I think he's going to bring that mentality from Europe that you really can't explain. and just the top quality with Busquets as well, being able to run a midfield, being able to run a team, really, being the heart of that team. He's going to be able to facilitate possession throughout the midfield and throughout the defense. He's going to have the movement, be able to teach his teammates. And honestly, I don't really think they need an overhaul. They just need some practice together. And Messi, obviously, can facilitate up top with his assisting, with his goal scoring. Obviously, he's the top goal scorer in Europe history. So I think he can definitely do it in the MLS, especially with being the leading goal scorer in the World Cup this past season. But even if they bring in Jordi Alba, that's just a plus, really. I think they can contend for any trophy as long as they have Lionel Messi on their team.
Mm-hmm. And the way that you would think that teams would attack Inter Miami is to press them, because they got Messi up front. You want to win the ball high up the pitch and go right at goal. With Busquets, he's probably the most press-resistant player that MLS has ever seen. We see players like, Nagby or Jax McCarty right now being pretty press-resistant, but it's nowhere near the level of Busquets.
Yeah, the amount of quality that Inter Miami just brought in is just something that MLS has never seen before. Like, you bring in players like Chicharito, who's played in Europe. You bring in Ibrahimovic, who played in Europe for a while. But Messi, there's no comparison to him there. And Busquets, who's one of the greatest possession players of all time, I can just see them running through any MLS team just based on their two qualities alone. So I definitely see Inter Miami contending for the league and any other cup that they compete in next season.
Okay, so you think it's going to be just one season and then they'll be contending for things. I think Inter has the potential to do that, but I think it's going to take a couple more years. I just don't think that they have enough talent. There's some cases where Atlanta United, they were contending within the first season because they made correct signings. They had players that made them good, but then you look at teams like Nashville and Orlando who took a few years to grow and build their team better. And I think Inter has the possibility of doing that. They just have to build that talent around Messi and build that talent around Busquets, because two players don't make the team. That two players can make the team better, but they can't. It doesn't help in a team game and a team sport where you need all 11 guys to make something happen, especially with Inter. And I just think it all starts with the manager. I don't think Phil Neville was the right choice to lead this team.
Agreed.
He's a really good coach, but for the women's, but not for the men's. He hasn't had success with the men teams, but when you saw him coaching for England, he was really good. But also England had really good talent. But I think if Inter Miami can get a striker and then get another partner with Sergio Busquets, because I don't think Claudio Pizarro is the right choice to pair up in the midfield with them. I think I've seen that they are linked to Leonardo Paredes from PSG. I've seen them linked to multiple players like that quality, and you see them playing with Argentina, and they're really good. But so we'll just see what happens. Hopefully that they can do something great like that.
Right, and I agree with a lot of your points. I'm just saying that we've never seen this quality of player come into a squad in the MLS before, so it's really an anomaly. We've never seen anything like it. And most squads in MLS, the good ones, are balanced. They have good players in every position. They might have 2 stars, 3 stars, but generally they just have good players in every position. That's how they succeed. But with Inter Miami, they are a bit rough around the edges. They're not as balanced. They won't be as balanced. They still have to make a few more signings, but their top talent is just far superior than any other team's top talent.
Oh, yeah. My last question. Go ahead. I was just going to say my last thing with this about Inter Miami and Messi. Do you think this is the biggest signing the MLS has ever had? Do you think this is bigger than David Beckham? The impact.
Easily. And especially with the 2026 World Cup coming around and the hype around soccer in the U.S. just growing and growing every single year. I think it's just really going to add another layer onto it with the Gold Cup being in here right now. You have Copa America, and you'll have the World Cup coming up, right? I think soccer is going to be bigger than ever, and I think Messi is going to be a huge, huge part of that, especially because the global brand that he is, and that everyone loves Messi, really. You don't see that many haters of Messi. It's just everyone is just in wow. I mean, you even see it in the ticket prices. They're skyrocketing 10 times just to see him in any stadium. So,
Oh yeah, 100%.
If
I'm
you,
ready
If
to.
you look at it this way, Inter Miami, they got a couple gems already, but without the signing of Beckham and Robbie Keane back in the day, this would have never happened. So you
That's
could
true.
make an argument that it is.
They started the trend.
They started the trend, yeah. Gerrard, Lampard, Pirlo, Zlatan, those guys started it. But if those guys never came, and maybe the best player in MLS was Carlos Vela or Chicharito or something of that nature, like, who knows if this season.
Well, even if Beckham and Henry don't come, I don't think Carlos Vela comes. I don't think Chicharito comes. And we're playing with the likes of Scaleto, people coming from Argentina, and Landon Donovan. It'll be mostly heavy-based South American players and probably U.S. players. You don't see those Europeans coming without them. So, yeah, that's why I'm asking, like, I think that Messi is the biggest signing we've ever had since Beckham and Henry, but without them, this doesn't happen.
So you think Beckham or Henry is a bigger signing?
What?
So you think Beckham or Henry was the bigger signing for the MLS than Messi?
If we're talking about pure just the game, I think Messi is the biggest signing. But if we're talking about marketing with Beckham, because Beckham is one of the most charismatic people, the most limelight. Because Messi, Messi, he's shy. He'll do interviews, but he really doesn't like
speak
doing
English
them.
either. So that,
He doesn't speak English. He's not really he's not like a bright, he shies away from the superstar, like a Zlatan or a Ronaldo or a Beckham. Like, it's easier to market those kind of players, and especially in the U.S. because it's just their personality. Messi is shy. He's more private. So I think in that sense of commercial base, they're bigger. But overall, I think Messi brings something that we've never seen into the game that is, like you said, growing. Like, you see Nashville is you wouldn't think Nashville is a big soccer spot. Charlotte's a big soccer spot. But you've seen the crowds and the people that draw into those. They're huge. So I think Messi is someone that will do that for Inter Miami already.
Agreed. Yeah, so we'll get back to Europe and especially the Premier League. So I just came up with a little start bench drop for you guys. You don't know who it's going to be, but so you got 3 players here. So who would you want to have on your team next season? Start bench drop, Premier League strikers only next season, right? Mm-hmm. Darwin Nunez, Harry Kane, and Christopher Nkunku.
Yeah, I'll take this one. Yeah, I'm taking Harry Kane. It has to. Harry Kane. He's the more polished of the 3. He's been in the Premier League longer, so he knows the game, how people play in the Prem. I think Darwin Nunez I wouldn't say a rough first season. He had a decent first season in the Prem. And Kunu, we don't know what he'll bring. We honestly don't know where he's going to play. If he's going to play in a centrally as a false 9, if he's going to play on the wing at right wing, because a lot of times he either played centrally or on the right for Leipzig and then kind of drifted into the middle. But whenever you have Harry Kane, who scored 30 goals and got runner-up in the Golden Boot for the Premier League, and he's played countless years in the Prem, I think you can't not pick Harry Kane. Whatever team he's on, I think if he goes to United, he's joining a better team. I think Tottenham's missed Christian Eriksen's playmaking ability in the midfield. They've lived disjointed without him since he's left. You bring him into that fold with Bruno Fernandes and Christian Eriksen. He could contend for the top goal scorer with Haaland next year again. I think Darwin Nunez is too raw and we haven't seen much of him. I want to see him how he does in his second full season in the Prem before I make a decision to whether or not he can be the next big Uruguayan star to play in the Prem like Luis Suarez. But you just have to go with someone you're familiar with, and I'm taking Harry Kane 9 times out of 10.
Okay, so you're starting Harry Kane, right? Before you go over to Caleb, you're starting Harry Kane. Who are you benching and who are you dropping out of the Christopher Nkunku or the Darwin Nunez? Sam.
Yeah. To be honest, I haven't seen Nkunku play in the Prem, so I'm gonna have to go with Darwin Nunez as a bench just because he's played in it. If we bring this question up at the end of the season next year when we've seen Nkunku play in the Prem, then that might change. But as of right now, Darwin Nunez is my bench because he's played in the Prem. He, I believe, scored 9 goals and 3 assists in 29 matches, and that's pretty good in your first year, especially when you're not starting every game and you're getting subbed out 60, 70 minutes into the game, not playing a full 90 minutes, and especially with a very crowded up front for Liverpool. But he still did pretty well in Champions League as well. He scored 4 goals. But Darwin Nunez, I will take Darwin Nunez and I will cut Nkunku and I am a Chelsea fan, but you just have to go with the stats and what they've done. And Nkunku was top scorer in the Bundesliga for missing a bunch of games, but once again, the Bundesliga is not the same thing as the Premier League. There's better competition, better defenders. So I will take Darwin Nunez and I will cut Nkunku.
All right, Caleb.
So for my start, I think it's pretty obvious Harry Kane. He's second best striker in the league. Best probably passing striker we have in the Premier League right now. The way he can just pick up the ball, hit a ball over the top of Son and Kulusevski running onto it. It happens at least once a game, and it's dangerous. I'm a very huge fan of the striker dropping in and playmaking style of play, and Kane is the number one guy right now at that. So I would definitely start him. There are moments where he is a little selfish, but as a striker, you kind of want that at the same time. When he gets in the box, when he's outside that box, he's literally distributing fire passes everywhere on the field. With the bench, I'm picking Nkunku. I love Darwin. He's one of my favorite players in the Prem right now, and to be honest, I can't put him over Nkunku. So, I feel like at the end of the season it might be flipped because Chelsea number 9s have had many, 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 many problems in the past. So, I'm
not gonna lie, I didn't see that coming. Not gonna lie, I did not see that coming. I thought you were gonna start Nunez on your bench.
Yeah, that was a big swap.
Nunez? No, I would not start Nunez.
I didn't say start Nunez on the bench. I said start Nunez on the bench and not starting. But I'm shocked you picked Nkunku.
Wow, we had the Chelsea fan bench Darwin and cut his own player, and we had the Liverpool player cut his own player. Who would have thought that they differed on their own teams, their own players, and the new signing for Chelsea?
It shows that we will not just be biased on our teams,
Yeah.
I can't just sit here and be like, whoever's better than whoever just because they wear red or blue. But,
exactly.
The guy missed half the season or whatever, and he's still beating people that were playing the entire season. Though Dortmund, they switch around their strikers a lot, and Bayern they had Choupo-Moting and the whole Sadio Mane situation where the players on his team were very against him at the start, and the management, the coach were against him pretty much from the start. Even though he's a world-class talent, so I would say Nkunku right now before he joins Chelsea, I would say. But I think at the end of the season, Darwin will be head on and pushing the top strikers because, you brought it up. Literally, the guy's raw. He's rapid too. He's third quickest player. If he's in the open field, not many people can stop him. So.
Yeah, I think I agree with Sam here on his ratings. I'm keeping Darwin only for the reason that I don't know how Chelsea's going to play Nkunku. and I don't know if he's going to start every single game or whatnot. And I think Darwin has solidified himself towards the end of the season as a starter, especially with Firmino on the out. And I don't think they're going to start Jota or anyone else up top. So, I mean, yeah, they might, yeah, but I think Nunez will solidify himself as that.
Gakpo is trying to form into the new Firmino role.
Yeah. And then it's like if you want
learns how to do that, or he takes over Diaz's spot. So
there's no way he's taking over Diaz's spot. When Diaz is healthy, he's one of the best wingers in the Prem. And unless Diaz gets another serious injury like he did this season, I don't see Nunez starting. Nunez could be something if he can learn, like Caleb said, if he can learn how to play more of that false nine, drop into the midfield more, and combine like Firmino did, Nunez is going to be pretty good. But we don't know if he can do that. We know Nkunu can do that, but Nkunu's never played in the Prem. And the level of difference of play between the Prem and the Bundesliga is a lot different. Bundesliga is more slower pace, build up from the back, and then go more direct. With the Premier League, it's fast pace, quick movement off ball. So we'll just see how they do. I think Nkunu, if he plays in that false nine position, he's going to be really good. Nkunu had 4 assists this season, but if you look at his previous season in 2021, 2022, he had 13 assists and 20 goals in the Bundesliga. And he's very good at creating for other teams. And like Casey said, it's just going to be how Chelsea lines up and how Chelsea plays. If that means we're playing Raheem Sterling on the left, or if we're going to play, if Mudrik's going to play, or if we're going to play Madueke, or if Pulisic stays. We have so many options on the wing, we don't know who's actually starting. And it just depends on how Pochettino lines up his team. And right now, he's starting for a starting spot against Lukaku. Yep. So we'll see how that goes. And then Nico Jackson's coming in. If Nico Jackson comes in from Villarreal, is he going to play striker? Is Nkunu going to play on the right wing? Then where's Sterling going to play? So there's so many unresolved questions that Poch has all summer to figure out. So it'll be an interesting story to watch throughout the offseason.
Right. And staying on the topic of Liverpool and Chelsea, who do we think has a better bounce-back season? Because obviously Chelsea had a really abysmal season this past season. Brought in $500 million worth of new players, sold quite a few over to Saudi Arabia, but really just has a new foundation in place. They took out Frank Lampard, who arguably was one of the worst managers ever last season, and they brought in a new coach. But whereas Liverpool, they kind of have the same foundation. They're going to have health on their side this time. They brought in McAllister, who was a great signing for them. So, Caleb, we'll go over to you. Who do we think has the better bounce-back season?
I think Liverpool. It'll be them clearly, I would say. We're probably not going to spend the money. It doesn't look very promising now, other than McAllister. But Klopp knows how to turn around sticky situations, and we'll also have all of our attackers back. Chelsea, on the other hand, they're kind of dysfunctional, don't know what's going on half the time. They are bringing in Poch, but Poch had to take time. You know, it's not like they have you kind of set its own person. Ever since Abramovich left, it has been something that you don't know what's gonna happen next. So, you know, I think Salah will keep his numbers. Gakpo will turn it on. Diaz will turn it on. Darwin will turn it on. And as long as we get a competent midfield pairing three, with my belief is Fabinho might start the season, but Bajcetic probably will take him over. And I think if McAllister keeps it how he was at Brighton, we'll be pretty set. So I'm saying Liverpool will definitely finish above Chelsea, 100%.
Sam?
I'm gonna have to go with Chelsea. And if history repeats itself, the last time we finished outside the top 10, we ended up winning the league the next year with Conte. So I think Chelsea, with no distraction of European football whatsoever, just like last time, We can focus on the Premier League. We can focus in the league. Bring in good signings. I think it all comes down to who Poch brings in. I think Nico Jackson is going to be a good signing for us. I think the one major thing is we need a goalkeeper. Kepa is not the answer. I know Poch said Kepa is going to start the season as our number one. But I love that we're linked to Andre Onana. I love that we're linked to Valencia's keeper. I love that we're linked to David Raya now because he's not going to Tottenham anymore. We just need a keeper. We need to cut the roster down, and I think we're doing a great job at that. Seeing Koulibaly leave was kind of heartbreaking to see because I've been a huge fan of Koulibaly ever since Napoli days. Eduardo Mendy was a great signing. I don't know why we decided to keep Kepa over Mendy. I think, yes, Mendy had a bad season this year with injuries because they're healthy, but I think he would have been better than Kepa. We retained Thiago Silva. I think Thiago Silva still can play at a high level at 37, 38 years old. And he brings that veteran presence to our young defense of whoever he plays with, if it's Badiashile, if it's Wesley Fofana. I think there's going to be big changes coming to Chelsea. I think Cucurella is out soon. I don't think he'll be there once the transfer window ends. So there's going to be a lot of changes for Chelsea. But like I said, I think Chelsea has more to play for. With how the season played out this year, with the multiple coaches getting fired, I think they're going to come hungry, fighting to finish higher than Liverpool. I think Liverpool, they have a chance to bounce back too as well. I just think that it all comes down to, like Caleb said, they need a midfield, and they've been linked to Nico Barella, they've been linked to Tchouaméni, they've been linked to so many other center mids, but there's a difference between being linked to them and pulling the trigger and buying these players. And that's what Chelsea's been doing, and Liverpool has not. So I just think by the end of it, Chelsea walks away happier in the transfer window. Yes, we lost Kovacic in the midfield. Yes, we lost Conte. We're looking to bring in midfielders like the David Fratis from Sassuolo. We're linked to bringing in Tyler Adams. So is Liverpool. So it just depends on how Chelsea handles their next couple months with the window, and same with Liverpool. But if Chelsea can start bringing in players, and if Liverpool doesn't bring anyone in, I think Chelsea will finish higher than Liverpool.
Well, we have midfielders. We just need another physical midfielder. Because we have like Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott.
But they're young. Thiago's not, but the two you named are young. Carvalho's on his way out on loan to RB Leipzig in the next few days. Harvey Elliott they either play him in the wing or they play him in centrally. Yes, you have Curtis Jones. He's still young. But you had all these players last year, and you still struggled in the Prem. You still struggled in your midfield. So it's either you have to at least bring in two more midfielders because you need to change something because something wasn't working last year. So you either change it this year or you're gonna just be in the same rut as last year.
I mean, I'm all on the same boat as you about that because literally we would rather spend money on baseball players instead of giving money to actually buying people. So, I mean, it's insane. Literally, we were linked after the World Cup with Amrabat for 30 mil. I don't know why we didn't just pull the trigger then. We could have gotten him in the this season, and he would have been in our system. Because we do like to randomly get people in January where they are summer signing, where they can just implement themselves starting next year.
But getting Amrabat would be hard because he has came out and said multiple occasions that he prefers to go to Spain than play in the Premier League, and he's been linked with Atletico Madrid now because Barca pretty much is out of that race.
Atletico's been linked to him since the World Cup.
Yeah, exactly, and he's been preferring to go to Spain than playing in the Prem because you've seen players prefer to go to Spain or to Italy when they know they could go to the Prem and play. But I think that the only way I can see Liverpool finishing ahead of Chelsea this year is if they go out if they pull the trigger for Nico Barella. If you bring in Barella and maybe bring in Thuram, you're finishing higher than Chelsea. It's just obvious
that's the only reason. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying your midfield.
He's saying you need more midfield depth, okay? Like, he's saying you need at least one or two more just physical players that can come in and replace players like Henderson, who's aging, Thiago's aging, and other players like you sent out Milner. You just need more depth in the midfield there just to back up. And even some insurance for someone like Fabinho, who really was not good last season, and we don't know if he's going to be great this season either. So it's just one or two more midfielders that Liverpool needs, and then they'll be back to their top level, competing for the Premier League title. Honestly.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if we were talking about someone like Arsenal or Man U or Newcastle or City, but Chelsea, I think maybe Thuram, and we'll finish it in a pretty sound way. We have a 30 goal a year winger. Not to mention we have Gakpo, Jota,
Yep.
we have Diaz, and we still got Virgil van Dijk and the best goalkeeper in the world, Alisson. So,
Ooh. No.
Okay, fine, top two, fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Ter Stegen's up there. You're right. Ter Stegen's top. Yeah.
Courtois.
Yeah. Well. All right. Well, we'll go back.
Performance of a goalkeeper I've seen. But not the best right now, consistently.
Okay,
Courtois has been the best.
All right. Well, why don't we talk about some Manchester City? So obviously they won the league the past, so many years, and it doesn't really seem like anyone can compete with them, even though they have a much lower net spend than teams like Chelsea, or Newcastle or anyone like that, really. But we'll look at Man City. Do you have them winning the league next season? And I do, obviously, but do you think anyone can compete with them realistically?
Yes, that I think City will win the Prem next year. It's 100%. They have the best coach. They have probably a top 3 best coach of all time in Pep Guardiola. They somehow can make great signings if that's on a bargain with Kovacic. If that is getting Govaldo from RB Leipzig for 100 mil, where he was projected to be anywhere from 130 to 120. So, yes, City can win the Prem next year. Do I think someone can rival them? Yes. It's in any team game, if you build the right team, you have the right manager or coach, you have the right players that fit that system, any team can rival great teams. You've seen Man U was one of the most dominant teams in the early 2000s, and you saw Arsenal rival with them because they had the right coach, the right players around them to do that. You've seen rivalries between City, Liverpool, Chelsea. You've seen them in the past. Like City, you've seen years that City haven't been like great, and you've seen them like the year Liverpool won the Premier League. City was still how many points behind? Caleb, do you know?
Wasn't it like one?
When we won the league?
Yeah.
It was like a lot. It was a big margin.
What was I know there was 1 year?
The years that a couple of years we finished 1 point behind.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's
so,
what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. So that
When
exactly.
we won it was a blowout.
Okay. So yes.
So
So it
Sam,
wasn't.
who do you have rivaling them next season?
Oh, it just depends on who buys. So if Chelsea can actually spend money like they already are, but on better players, they can do it. Liverpool has the best chance, I think. They have Mo Salah. They have Gakpo. They have a really great attacking. They have a really good defense. It's just fix your midfield and you could win the Prem next year. If Newcastle, I like what Newcastle's doing. I love the project over there. I love what they're doing. Bringing in Sandro Tonali on a steal. The reason they sold him was because they were in financial debt. AC Milan was, and bringing in Tonali, I don't think Bruno Gomes leaves. I don't think Barca will accept that offer that they gave they got from them. I think they pair them into the midfield. That's a great center defensive mid for the next 4 years right there. I like what they did with Joelinton. Underrated player in the Prem is Miguel Almiron. The man is, you saw what he did when he played for Atlanta United. You saw what he did once he got to Newcastle. He is reinvented himself into a winger, and he looked amazing. I think Isak had a decent year. I think he just needs to get his footing down into the Prem after one season. I think it was a tough transition for him. But you have the likes of Callum Wilson, who finished in the top 5 in scoring this year. And Eddie Howe, hands down, one of my favorite managers in the Prem. I love what he did at Bournemouth, and I love what he's doing at Newcastle. I think Newcastle's project, I think they can contend if they make the correct signings. But United, I think United's one of the most complete teams unless they get a number 9. Then they can be a complete team. I think they're just a number 9 away from competing. I think Ten Hag's a good coach. I think they get Lisandro Martinez back healthy. They already have Casemiro and Eriksen who show that they can play together. So there's a lot of teams that can contend. I just think Newcastle has the best chance, other than Liverpool, if they can sign midfield.
Okay, Caleb.
Yeah, I get Newcastle. I don't think that the league's even going to be close though, because when you allow a team to spend like that and also cheat in the process 115 times and also give them the title while you're investigating them.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Please.
It hasn't been proven. Okay, we can't say that it's actually happened. It's alleged.
Let's just say some of them are alleged, right? Let's say
this is all.
115.
But not a single one has been proven.
Yeah, it's all hypothetical.
Let's just say, okay, that some of the 115 are falsified or whatever. They're just there. Okay. You think all 115 are false? If they catch them on, say, like 30, that's still a lot of offenses compared to a lot of the other clubs doing 0 for the entirety of the whole Premier League. Let's say they catch them on 20. That's still a big number, and they've been doing it for the past 10 years straight. Okay, so the fact that they're handing out trophies to these guys and they're under investigation currently. They were under investigation by UEFA, and the lawyers for City managed to get it dropped because when you're rich, this is in life and in sports. When you're rich, you get the best lawyers. You get what you want, most cases, right? So,
but you got to remember the FA also has a lot of money. Like they get money every single year from the Premier League and from the FA Cup and everything else, right? So they also have great lawyers, and they also are looking into it constantly. And nothing's been proven yet, so we can't just assume that they did it if it's still alleged, right? So, Caleb, going back to the original question, do you have City winning the league, and do you have anyone challenging for the title alongside them?
I'll say Newcastle finished second, like 10, 15 points behind. Newcastle, if they get like people like James Maddison too, with Tonali and a left back like Robinson or I don't know, someone of that nature, they're going to be finishing second, I'd say. The way that their pendulum just goes through, like game in, game out, it's pretty good to watch. You'll still have people off the bench. I'm guessing probably Joe Willock would drop to the bench because of Tonali, but
Joelinton. You got Joelinton.
Would you say that he drops to the bench, or would you say that Chris Willock?
It depends on what formation they play. Joelinton, if you play, if I think what they're gonna play is a 4-2-3-1, I don't know if Joelinton would slot into that 10 role. I feel like you bring Maddison in, he'll slot into the 10 role, and then that leaves Joelinton. Joelinton's not gonna play over Sandro Tonali, and he's not gonna play over Bruno Gomes. So it's either he plays at the 10 over Maddison, and you move Maddison to the wing, but Maddison really only played not that many games on the wing, and he played on the right side, and that's where Almiron plays, and you're not gonna take out Almiron. So I think Joelinton, unless Joelinton somehow they make him play on the left, I don't see that happening. I think
I
he
wouldn't
comes off. Yeah, he comes off the bench.
Has one of the, I'd say, top 5 best spark plugs in the whole league at St. Maximin. So
Yeah, exactly.
So,
So I just
you
think
can play
Joel.
Isak on the left wing. He can play there.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't think Joelinton. I think Joelinton is the odd man out on that one. I think you either sell him because you could probably get a good amount for him because
I would not sell him.
he reinvented himself playing that kind of box to box midfield now because he came in as a striker. So you either keep him on the bench or you sell him because he's not starting. You don't spend 70 mil on a CDM to sit the bench. That's just like unheard of. Like you're spending that kind of money for him to start. And Bruno Gimenez, obviously, it was probably the second or third best CDM in the Prem last year behind Rodri, and you can make an argument for Casemiro. You don't take him out of your midfield because he was one of your mainstays. Unless they don't get James Madison, I could see them playing a double pivot with Sandro Tonali because he can play box to box. He's done it before, but he's more of that 6 in front of that as like a reinforcer. You could try to play that double pivot. Take a minute.
They played 4-3-3 last year. Mm-hmm. They would play. I mean, you can put Tonali and then Guimaraes for 8.
Yeah, exactly. It might take some time getting used to for them, but I don't think. Yes, Joelinton would be good off the bench. I think either way. You play him, you start him for some games. The team Newcastle is going to do a lot of rotating because they are playing Champions League now. So that's just another competition to add on. So Joelinton will play a lot. It's just he might not play a bunch starting, but he'll come off the bench or he'll start in Champions League games. So it'll be an interesting season to watch out. Nevertheless.
The only thing that Newcastle, I feel like, has done wrong in the transfer business was signing Anthony Gordon for, $45 million.
That was a terrible signing.
The guy is not, he's not worth that. I mean, if you watched any of his games for Everton,
he was terrible.
Best a couple of guys, but other than that,
it's too raw.
It's not looking good. Yeah, it's not looking good. And the way that he left Everton, where all the fans were hating him, just the way he acted, for him just now to not even be in the starting 11. I mean, he's not getting over Almiron. There's no chance. The goals that Almiron was scoring last year, outside the boot volleys from God knows where, like literally.
He was a monster.
You're not playing over him, Anthony Gordon. Sorry about that.
So speaking of some Champions League teams, next year the Champions League is going to be more competitive than ever, I would say. And who would you have as your favorite going into next season, knowing that the transfers that we know and not really assuming transfers for the future?
You got to go with the winners, City. You can't not say City's the favorites next year. They are the reigning champions. But there are teams that you can't rule out. Obviously, Real Madrid, that's their tournament. There's potential signings to come. If they get Mbappe, they skyrocket to the top. You have the likes of Bayern Munich. They're just always there. If Inter and AC can fix their debt problem and bring in signings, like I know Inter is somehow is in so much debt, but somehow signing Marcus Thuram, they stole that signing from AC Milan. Can he produce like Dzeko? Yeah, he's a good replacement for Dzeko because they need some more dynamic going forward with Lautaro, but. You've seen recently if Inter plays great when they have a more tall, physical striker like Dzeko or Lukaku and have Lautaro run off of him and get behind. That worked perfectly. I don't know how this is going to work with two of that same kind of player and not really have that target player. AC Milan, they went on a run. I could see them doing something. Dortmund's always there sometimes. I just think that this year, I think it can be competitive. I think Barca could bounce back maybe, depending on who's in their group. But you never know because Barca in the last 2 Champions Leagues have not done good.
No, it's more than the last 2. The last couple.
Last 3 or 4 years they've choked. But
Since 2015. So.
To be honest, with those big teams missing out, like Lyon and Chelsea and Liverpool, those big teams missing out, I think this will be a competitive Champions League, but it's going to be a small competitive teams. Like maybe 3 or 4 are going to be heavy favorites. There's going to be maybe 3 heavy favorites, and the rest is just going to be the field.
So wouldn't that make it less competitive?
Yes and no.
I could see the group stages being less competitive, but the final stages are going to be really, really good games. That's for sure.
Exactly.
And one more thing.
That's how it is every year, usually.
Before we go back to Caleb,
the least competitive years, but.
So before we go back to Caleb, Sam, I just have one quick question to ask you. How do you see Arsenal doing next season, coming back into the Champions League?
That's a tough one. We haven't seen them back in, what is it, like 4 or 5 years now? We haven't seen them. If they make the correct signings, I think they can go far. I think Mikel Arteta is technically a gifted coach. He learned under Pep for a few years. It just all depends on who they get matched up in the group stage. I know there's a chance of them getting Bayern Munich, and we all know how that ends up. That when they play each other, it honestly kind of rivals as how Barca plays Bayern Munich the last few years. So it just depends on who they get.
So what's their ceiling, you think? What's the farthest they can go?
Ceiling, if it favors in their favor, falls to their favor, quarterfinals.
Okay. Caleb?
Yeah, I agree. I think quarterfinals around 16 probably as far as they go. If they end up with Bayern anyways, I don't think they're going to fall below 3rd place. I think they'll be fine in the group stage. So
I think they'd be fine in a group stage, depending on if they don't get put up in a group of death.
Yeah, that's the only real thing, but I feel like it won't matter anyways. In European competitions, they've had problems in the knockout stages, so I mean, we saw it last year Sporting. As long as they get more depth, then I mean, if you watched Arsenal every game last year, like most games at least, there wasn't much change in starting 11 ever. It was pretty much the same team every time, apart from 1 or 2 maybe changes. So if they can add a few more people, I mean, they could do it. But I don't.
They need center. They mostly need center back depth because you saw when they played in the Prem and Europa League when they didn't have Saliba. They look like a totally different team without him. Like him and Gabriel had a great center back pairing. I think as it looks right now, they're bringing in Timbers, and Timbers is really good. He can be that depth, and he can also play on the right. And I think bringing him in, I think that means they can move Ben White back into his preferred position at center back. I just think this Champions League, the 2 favorites going into it are going to be Man City and Real Madrid, and that's because Real Madrid brought in Bellingham, and it helps their midfield. They're already stacked midfield. I just think.
What's their attack going to even look like, though? Because they don't have Benzema anymore.
Their attack is not the same. I will 100%. Honestly, it all comes down to if Real Madrid signs Mbappe this summer. If they sign Mbappe, they have number 9. If they don't, you're rocking Rodrigo at the 9.
So did you see the reports that Mbappe said he wants to stay at PSG next season, and also that you don't have Benzema, you're losing one of the top UCL goal scorers of all time, and it was kind of that 2-man game that you guys would play last season with him and Vinny. Even if you bring in Mbappe, how long is that going to take to merge to play together with the chemistry and everything? Because let's be honest, Benzema and Vinny were amazing together. So we'll see how that goes. But do you think Mbappe will even go there? And even if he does, do you see the chemistry working out?
Yeah, you said Benzema and Vinny played amazing together. You remember Vinny's first year, Benzema and them were not together. It took them a year. And it's going to
mostly Vinny though. I mean,
Yeah.
Vinny just needs to grow. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And and that happens for every player going to a new team. It takes time to adjust. And Mbappe, I think he can adjust quick. I think they'll look together. The only thing is, will Carlo give the front three, whoever it is, the freedom to move, to interchange? Because Mbappe likes to drift to the wing, drift left.
Yeah.
Benzema did the exact same, drift to the left a lot of times. And you saw and Vinny goes more centrally. So it will take time. I think that Mbappe can fit in right away. And with you saying the reports of Mbappe wanted to stay, actually Fabrizio tweeted, I believe yesterday, that Mbappe will leave if Real Madrid pays him the same amount of money that he was guaranteed at PSG now. So it'll be 150 mil guaranteed that he'll make in his last year at PSG, or he'll stay, get that money at PSG, and then leave for free.
And he'll go
in the
next
summer.
season. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
all right. Well, last question with Real Madrid and all.
I want to
So
talk about this part. I want to talk about this part.
right. Caleb, I'll ask you first then. So obviously Mbappe wants to go to Madrid. It's pretty obvious, right? He's still at PSG for another year under contract. Do you think Madrid should pay this 150 and just buy him now? And secondly, do you think he's going to be happy playing striker when he said multiple times that he wouldn't want to play striker? He'd rather play on the left wing?
If I was Madrid, I would definitely pay the money. I mean, I would definitely pay the money. I feel like that's pretty obvious. I mean, that would be, 70 million less than PSG even bought him in the first place. So, yeah, I would definitely do it. Will he go? I do not think so. I think he's all about the media hype. He wants to be the guy who's always in the news. I don't think it's going to happen, though, unless they pay that money. And he might, I mean, who knows? He declined him last year. Maybe he does it again. And it could just be a tactic to just get even more money and even more influence for his next contract, which he did do last year. And I want to point this out. I think it's hilarious how people like Sam and other Madrid fans, quote unquote, hated this man for about a week, and then he flipped the switch the second after. So,
Hey.
and it's how Liverpool fans were rebelling. We were begging to get him for years and years and years, and that just doesn't happen. I think it's going to be the exact same thing in this situation. And if he doesn't come, Madrid is possibly not going to have a 9 like we were talking about. I don't think he wants to play a 9, but I think he can do the job. And if he's on a different team other than PSG, I feel like he would suck it up at some point. Maybe not every game or whatever, but if Madrid does not get Mbappe, can Rodrigo, and if you play Valverde at the right mid, can those two together score around, 50, 60 goals and contribute 10, 20 assists? I don't think so. So you're solely putting it all on Vinny. So that's one reason I don't see Madrid being a UCL favorite. I mean, they're one of the favorites, but not like...
You can never rule them out. You can never rule them out.
Sure.
Well, we're not ruling any team out right now. It's just they're not going to be a favorite.
A favorite, but
Yeah.
not the ultimate. I think so.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I get that, yeah, and I totally agree that I don't think Vinny and Rodrigo and Joselu and Vinny can combine all together and score the goals that Benzema's taking away from them. And like you said, Mbappe loves the news, loves being in the media. You don't think he's going to be in the media at Real Madrid as much as he would be at PSG? Real Madrid is one of the most decorated clubs in the history of football. They are arguably probably top 2 biggest clubs in the world other than Barca. They're always in the media. And I think Mbappe's going to love that. And we know Mbappe's loved Real Madrid ever since he was little. Like, there's the reports of how he had posters of Cristiano Ronaldo, his idol, in his room. He loves the Galacticos, and I think, I just think it's a match made in heaven. And there are reports that Perez has the 250 mil ready for him. So it could be in the next couple weeks.
He also said you weren't making any more signings this year.
And I think that's a tactical play. I think that's tactical. I think that is purely tactical for the case of PSG has only really one option to sell Mbappe to, and that's to Madrid. Would you agree?
City.
I don't think he is.
I don't think Pep wants them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have Haaland.
No, you said option. I mean, the amount of teams that have the money.
I'm talking. Yeah, people have.
Man, you would pay for him. Man, you would pay for him.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm not saying like in money. I'm saying where Mbappe wants to go. Real Madrid is their only option.
He's declined you guys the last 2 summers.
But I think he was waiting to see them bringing in Messi. I think the reason he stayed last year is because they brought in Messi, they brought in Ramos, they brought in Donnarumma, they brought in Hakimi to go for the change. And then I think he realized when you bring all those superstars in, it doesn't always mean that you're going to win everything. And I think that's changed his mind. Now he wants to leave. He wants to go to Madrid. That's his first choice. I think that Mbappe knows this is crucial to Benzema leaving. Benzema leaving, I think, opened the door for Mbappe to come. And then if you look at it, like I said, tactically, Mbappe wants to go to Madrid. It's either he goes now or he goes for free next year. PSG knows that. With Florentino Perez coming out and saying that we're not going to buy anymore, we're not going to buy anymore, that means PSG is probably going to lower the asking price. Because they've already lowered it once already since he's came out and said this. Because it was 200, now they brought it down to 150. Can you bring it down a little more? That just all depends on how you look at it tactically, and I think it's perfect because Real Madrid are in the driver's seat. They can sit back and wait this out because they're going to get him either next year for free or we get him now. So
Do you think they wait it out though and waste this year basically because they don't have a number 9?
I think if they do wait it out, I think they wait it out until January, and then they bring someone in. Or they go out and I don't know why they haven't gone out and got Firmino. That's just
bold strategy, Cotton.
Yeah, Firmino would be the perfect. That's more match made in heaven, I would say, unless you play Mbappe on the left wing, which you're not going to do because you have Vinny. So
even just bring him in just to like hold you over until January. I mean, like you said, you want if they want to bring him in January, like you have Firmino carry you a little bit during the league and the Champions League, make sure you stay afloat, and then at that point.
Well, Mbappe already said he plans this. If he stays at PSG this summer, he said he intends to sign a pre-agreement with Real Madrid on January 1st. So we know he's coming. It's just
so you won't get him until next season. Then is what you're saying.
If we don't buy him now, he's coming. He's coming.
We're coming back to this podcast in a couple months.
I'd love to see that.
Keep the tape. Keep the tape.
Keep the tape. Keep the tape.
Check on the YouTube.
I remember you said the same thing last year. You said the same thing the year before. So we'll have
at the Roundtable Podcast channel on YouTube. Make sure you check the tape to see if Sam was right. I don't think Mbappe's coming until next year, but we'll see. So switching gears a little bit, we'll talk about international football. So the Gold Cup's currently going on in the U.S. We had a big match last night against Jamaica. That didn't end too well for us. Honestly, it was an L for the U.S. We were expected to win that game. We should have won that game, but we played horribly. Sam, where do you see us finishing out this Gold Cup? Do you see us winning it? And how do we respond, really, from this last game?
Watching that game might have given me like a million aneurysms throughout the entire game because you nailed it. We played terrible. Yes, we don't have Miles Robinson right now. He's injured. He's still injured from the Nations League. They said he might play in the second game on Wednesday and most likely will start next Sunday. I think we need him. He's our best defender on our team right now at center back. I think the team we picked, I wish we had some guys from the Nations League other than Matt Turner and Yedlin and stuff to play with us in this Gold Cup. But we all know that this is pretty much their holiday because they came straight over from club straight to the Nations League. So they need that time off to recuperate, get back mentally and physically, and I understand that. But as the U.S., we should not be looking like how we played against Jamaica. And yes, I know Jamaica, their up front is all playing in the Premier League. They're all, and yes, this is a heavy-based MLS roster. But there's no need for us to come out and play the way we started. Like, we started finding our groove towards the end of the game. That cannot happen as the favorites to win the Gold Cup. If we play like we started off against Jamaica, we're not doing anything in this Gold Cup. And I think that this, don't get me wrong, the U.S. Soccer Federation has been in limbos and been in, who knows what's going on over there. Ever since the World Cup ended, we have been in a massive change. We've been in, we took what? Yeah, we took what, 7 months to realize we're gonna rehire Greg Berhalter after he was cleared of charges 2 months after the news came out. Ernie Stewart left. Brian McBride left. We brought Matt Crocker in from Southampton after he got released from his deal early in the winter, and he's been with us since January, and it took us this long to find out. We hired Gucci and what's his last name? The center back that we hired. He used to play for the U.S. Gooch.
Anyewa?
Yeah, Nyewu. We brought him in to help us with this search, and we interviewed a dozen coaches, and from Jesse Marsh to Patrick Vieira. And then we hired Greg Berhalter. Greg Berhalter doesn't coach the Gold Cup. He's at the game. BJ Callahan's on the sidelines. What are we doing? Yes, they said he's focusing on the bigger picture. What is the bigger picture? Tell me what the bigger picture is. When you're the manager of your national team, you should be coaching. What is the bigger picture? Getting preparations for the World Cup?
2026.
Yes, that's the preparation.
Copa America, which we're
Copa America? Yeah. But you need to be coaching at that Gold Cup because you get to see what players you can bring in to the next camp to get ready for Copa America, to get ready for the World Cup in 2026. Because we're looking ahead, but Greg Berhalter should have been coaching on this team for the Gold Cup. There's no reason he should be focused on that. And then I love Matt Turner. I love that he went to the coaches and said, I want to play in both Gold Cup and Nations League. We need more players like that. We need people to have that dedication to play in both. Because this team, yes, we won the Gold Cup last year, but this team, the team I watched yesterday, does not look like they want to win the Gold Cup. They have a chance to win the Gold Cup. And the U.S. Federation needs to fix whatever they're doing, because if we keep on the path that we're going, we don't stand a chance in Copa, and we won't stand a chance in the World Cup. And that also comes down to where players are playing for their club. If Pulisic going to move this summer? Is Balogun moving this summer? Is Dest moving this summer? You saw Dest. You see players put on the U.S. jersey and play significantly better than they do at club level. And you see the opposite happen too. When Jordan Morris and Jesus Ferreira play in the MLS, they're bagging goals every day. They're bagging goals left and right. When they put on the U.S. jersey, they look terrible. The hold-up play was bad. We bring on Brandon Vasquez too late when we should have brought him on at halftime. We have Aaron Long. Yes, Aaron Long is a decent defender for MLS standards, but he's not good. If this team was mixed with players that played in the Nations League and players that are now playing for the Gold Cup, we might do better. It's just this whole process of coaching, and is Gio Reyna and Berhalter and Stefan and Pepe, the players that had a falling out with Berhalter, are they going to make up? Because we all know Gio, when playing, is probably, other than Pulisic, is one of our best players on the field. And you both would agree with me, right?
Yeah.
and he needs to be a part of this team. Pepe hung up on Berhalter when he found out he didn't get called up for the national team for the World Cup. Is he going to have that spot coming Copa America time, coming for when we start qualification, or not qualification because we're already in it, but starting those preparations? Is he going to be a part of the team, part of the camp? So I don't think, if we played like we played last night, we are not winning the World Cup.
Right. Caleb, what's your reaction to this game against Jamaica? Horrible performance, like I said, and who's to blame, really, for this loss or for this tie? It feels like a loss. I mean, we were talking about it like it's a loss just because we should have won that game, but we just didn't play well. So who do you have to blame here? And is it Berhalter, like Sam says?
No, I don't think it's Berhalter's fault. I think we just underestimated Jamaica. I mean, they've always been kind of around the edges of the top teams in CONCACAF, but we just didn't give them much respect, even though they probably have the best attack in the Gold Cup this tournament. So I would say Jamaica, I mean, based on their performance last night, is one of the favorites. I would say we're still up there as a favorite, and I'd see Canada. If they can get over that hump, when the Nations League game happened the other day, they kind of had a shock of the U.S. is turning it on. This isn't like what it was during World Cup qualifying, that type of thing. So I would say Canada's up there, maybe second or third, but I'd still put us as the favorites. And it's in our country, so I would say, I mean, we're gonna have the home field advantage for most of it. So for all of it, actually. So I would say starting Aaron Long was not a good choice on our part. I don't think he's a good defender at all. And with goalkeeper situation, I mean, he didn't play the entire year pretty much, except for Europa League, and
I think he played 2 Europa League matches.
Was it 2 Euro?
I think it was. I believe it was.
I mean, the guy probably just wants to play. Like, he doesn't really need a holiday that much, so I would say that's one of the reasons. I would have liked to see Gaga Slanino play the Gold Cup games, but I think they're kind of just keeping him sheltered a little bit, so nothing bad.
He played 5 matches in all competition for Arsenal.
Yeah. He's
and
gonna
the
beat
other
that this summer.
He's already beaten it. He's played 6 for US right now. I think if Turner doesn't play, I think Stefan can retake it, because Stefan's leaving City to get game time, and he wants to regain that number 1, because I think Stefan's a better keeper than Turner, especially with his feet, and we like to play with our feet. Our keepers like to play with their feet and be able to move the ball side to side, and Turner doesn't have that. I would say Turner is better at shot blocking. I think he has better reaction time, but I just think Stefan's better overall, and I think Stefan should be our number 1.
Also, Ricardo Pepi should have been on this team. I wanted to see him play every game of this tournament. Literally, seeing him on the bench is just hard to see. One of the first games I ever watched with Pepi was when he scored. He came on and scored when we were in, I believe it was Honduras. I mean, ever since then, I've been rooting for the guy. I mean, he's a quality player, and I want him to succeed. So, and he did just get his new move to PSV, which I'm excited about, because they're a flying team right now. So
I think Pepe should be on this team. I also think that Brandon Vasquez needs to be starting instead of Jesus Ferreira. Brandon Vasquez, every time he puts on that jersey, he scores. He plays very well. His link-up play with the players are great. I don't know why we play Jesus Ferreira. I don't know why. I don't think he's a good number 9. Yes, he has good link-up play, but that's in the MLS. That's
if
not.
We played him
US
behind.
stage.
If we played him behind.
If we put him at a 10, that would be
If we played
great.
him behind someone like Pepi.
Yeah, if he played a 10, he'd be great, but he cannot play. He cannot play a 9 role. Well, I'm sorry, he can't.
Well, Jamaica does have a history of having very strong defenders, and Ferreira is kind of a little guy at times, where he's not really someone who shoves people down off, like when he has the ball. Like,
Oh yeah, that's true.
He's often the one that gets pushed off the ball, and we saw that I think a couple times last night. We also saw Jordan Morris out there, not the best decision. We got a youngster in Cade Cowell who should be starting every game, I'd say. If we don't have someone like Pulisic, we don't have Reyna, if we don't have, Timothy Weah, Cade Cowell should be playing every game.
Oh, 100%.
All right, and going to our last segment here. So Caleb and I had the privilege of going to a Columbus Crew game last night. We played Nashville, who have looked like one of the best teams in the league so far this season. I think they're in third now. Yeah, they're behind New England and Cincinnati in the Eastern Conference. The Crew just moved up to fifth place after the 2-0 win last night. Just want to show off. We did get a Crew flag, a complimentary Crew flag. But yeah, Christian Ramirez had a great goal last night, and we had an own goal for Nashville. But Kale, what was your take on the Crew game last night, and how do you see us finishing the season?
It was electric. It was one of the most electric atmospheres I've seen at the Crew stadiums. That being either this stadium currently at the lower.com or the historic Crew Stadium, which was the yellow wall for many years. So I would say, if you look on some of the journalists talking about the Crew, a lot of them are saying we're the most exciting team in the league, which all we need to do is finish in the top couple of spots, and I think we can make a run because we do have that unpredictability about us. People like Cucho, people like Zalarian can beat a man and take it one-on-one on net. You got people like Farsi, who is a very exciting player, I'd say. Like, last year, he was teetering around the edges of our squad, playing here and there. But now it's starting every week. He's putting in good performances. He's rapid. He can defend. And the fact that we are starting 0 traditional center backs in our squad and still managing to shut down people like the 2-time league MVP and top scorer this year, it's very exciting. Our reverse game against Nashville, we did not do very well. I unfortunately could not watch that game, but I had insights from Skelty and our other friend Brett, and they were explaining to me what was happening. And I think it's just it is a home factor. We do have one of the best fan bases, which for years we were getting slagged off for being not motivated with the team and not showing up and all this stuff. And that could be down to partly the location of our old stadium, but last night was just incredible. Everywhere it was people chanting, people jumping, people clapping.
Yep.
You got the vuvuzelas in the stadium too. Like,
you brought yours.
I did. You have to. You have to.
Yeah,
just adds to the
I think
and it's 8 or 9 sellouts this year.
8 in a row.
8
in a row.
I would say with the Crew just signing another center back, which could fill in for, sadly, Sean, who is
Zawatsky.
a midfielder.
Zawatsky.
Yeah, he is a midfielder for majority of his Crew career.
Well, July 5th.
He pocketed Mukhtar. He pocketed him. Mukhtar did not get past him. Mukhtar had one chance, and it was a volley that went over the goal, and it was off a corner. So,
yeah, I think ever since we moved to lower.com stadium, the whole fan base, and ever since the whole Save the Crew, we didn't end up moving to Austin. Ever since then, we really, really have been a great fan base, and we've just been, I would say we were probably lower half before that point. And although we are the oldest team in MLS, but ever since we moved to lower.com stadium, the fans are closer. We're more engaged now. You still have the Nordic. You still have all the booths, and everyone's wearing yellow or gray in the crowd, celebrating the Crew there. And I didn't see a single Nashville fan yesterday, so that's always a good sign. So I'll let Sam get the final word here on how the Crew are doing and how we finish out our season.
Yeah, like you guys hit it on the nail. I think being closer to downtown district is the prime spot because we're next to all the bars and restaurants where people can go. I think that was like the biggest thing. Because back when we were still at Maffrey, and I love Maffrey, and it's one of the best stadiums I've been to, you really only saw big crowds when we would host games for the U.S. team when Dos a Cero happened in Columbus. You see us as more of like an international place for when a U.S. comes. But now, since we're downtown, we're bringing in more fans, sellouts. 8 games in a row sellouts. That the stadium looks electric. We look live. I have not watched the game where I've seen an empty seat. There are so many people at this game, and not even hit on it. We played against one of the best teams in the MLS without Aiden Morris, who is one of our best players in the midfield, pairing up with Nagby, can get up and down the field, box to box. And we played Maton, who I've never been a huge fan of Maton, but he looked pretty good out there playing. And I didn't think he was going to play that much defense, but he got back and forth pretty well. I think we played great. I just think Caleb hit on the head. We need center backs. And July 5th is when our player that we just signed coming over from the Croatian League, I forget his name, but he's Ukrainian. He can play center back, and we need that. Viacia is coming back. I wish that Luis Diaz could have got some game time at the end of that game because he has not played. We need wingers that can play in a wing back role. I love Yeboah, but Luis Diaz is better, and I miss watching him running up and down that sideline. And I love Skelty. I think he's a great keeper, but we need Eloy Room back. Skelty is good at coming in if we need him, but we need Room back because I think Room just brings that leadership and versatility at the goalkeeping that we haven't had since Stefan. And honestly, I think if we can put this all together by the end of the season, I think we can push for an MLS Cup. We have a great coach in Wilfred Nance. I just think he needs to bring in some more signings, 2 more signings, depth help and center back help to our team.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you're watching the games on TV, you don't always notice people that aren't in the play. If you were watching Yeboah and Farsi last night, they were gassed at the end. Like with those because it was 10 added minutes, right? 10 added minutes.
It's ridiculous.
The last 10 added minutes, like, they were not really... I mean, Yeboah stood out more than Farsi a bit because Farsi did make a late run, but, I mean, Luis Diaz is rapid. He is rapid. He could have, gone up and on one of the last chances. Arfstead is someone who is an unsung hero this year. He has 6 appearances with, like 100 minutes, 150 minutes. And has 5 goal contributions.
Yeah, that's insane.
That last night, it's technically not an assist because it was an own goal, but he went around the keeper and was going to. It was if it didn't hit off the guy,
he created it. Yeah,
it's a tap. It's a tap in. So we give him an assist anyways, but at the moment he's overtaking our most promising player in Russell Rowe,
who is Canada for the Gold Cup, so we won't be seeing him anytime soon. My thing is, go ahead.
I was just saying, at the moment, like if he played on the wing the other day too against Charlotte and he scored. If people like in the Prem, because I saw recently Wolves was interested in Cucho, which I really don't want to happen, but if that were to happen, and we still have Armstead up there, it'd be interesting to see.
I hope we keep Cucho. I just want to see how the team looks when Aiden Morris comes back because I think we need to keep the 3 kings up front, and that is Cucho Hernandez, Lucas Zelarayan, and Christian Ramirez. The 3 kings. They refer to them all the time as the 3 kings. I love that nickname. Those 3 just look so dynamic together with Christian playing through the middle with Cucho and Zelarayan playing slightly behind them and running off of them as Christian plays that target. I think Mattson, I like Mattson, but I think he loses out in the starting spot once Aiden Morris comes back because you don't take Aiden Morris out of that midfield. I just think we need some cover with Nagby. Nagby's getting older. Nagby sometimes looks a step slow, but sometimes, and then like 5 seconds later, he turns it on. So
I don't know if I'd say slow, but he is getting up there in age.
They also could just play like how they did last night. Just put Morris into that Nagby role from last night. So
Morris, yeah. The one thing I'll say about Morris is of all the MLS teams, the Columbus Crew has lost the most amount of interceptions and tackles of any other team from Gold Cup players. I mean, like if you look at it, there's teams that have 3-4 players missing, and it's not even the same as one Aiden Morris. Mm-hmm. So the fact that we were able to pretty much dominate, I mean, our midfield didn't have to do too much defending in terms of it because players like Dax McCarty, I mean, it's one touch and pass away. He's not looking to just beat anyone, and it's tough to beat Nagby, especially for MLS players. It's tough to beat Nagby. But I just want to highlight Arfstead and Sean because literally those two, they got something in them that we could use. I mean, for the rest of the season.
Yeah, just think if we played Zawadzki in his actual position in the midfield, he doesn't stop running. We
need center backs first in order to put him in the midfield, you know.
Well, we're getting Viacia back. Dagnek was on the bench. He's coming back from injury. He's been really pretty much injured since the World Cup. He really hasn't been there. And then we're getting that young Ukrainian guy. So I just think we're good there. We just need maybe one more just as a backup. And we're forgetting about we don't even have Josh Williams right now. He's still hurt. Yep. And when he always plays for us, he's really reliable, even though he's like 30, 35, 36 years old.
I just don't see him getting into the squad anymore.
No, he won't get in as he'll be sporadic role. He'll come in whenever we need him. We just need that depth, more, because we can't, when we go into the playoffs, we can't have this makeshift center back crap we're doing right now. That won't fly
I don't know.
When we get into the playoffs.
Morera was nailed in that.
Morera's the only one that I can see that can do that. I don't think Asmund, as the season goes on, and Zawadzki just keeping it up going into the playoffs, because that's when teams turn it on in the playoffs. When we play Philadelphia, that's not going to work. When we play, yes, we beat Nashville last night, but remember when we first played them and we had the makeshift center backs and we got destroyed in the second.
We didn't have Quentin Black?
Oh, we did, yeah. We did. But we subbed him out because he was that bad. I remember. Right. We subbed it. That's when Zawadzki started playing at center back. But we still got killed because we subbed out Quentin before they put 3 on us.
Right. Any final thoughts, guys?
The only thing I would like to say is I got a report from Claude Martin on Twitter announcing that Kylian Mbappe is probably going to Real Madrid. They just announced that they are meeting with PSG in the next couple of days to talk sell with Kylian's entourage.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Just like last year before.
And also,
thanks for tuning in to our first edition of the Roundtable Podcast. I'm here with Caleb Kirsch and Samuel Skelty. I think it was a great podcast, so stay tuned for more. We'll be doing more basketball coverage and soccer coverage in the future. So stay tuned to our YouTube channel, our Spotify, and our socials. Anything else, guys?
Nope. Great first episode. See you guys soon.
Peace out.
Peace.